Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. We're going to talk about Jeff Wilson's sports card investor Paywall and how that is of benefit to everybody, even those who don't avail themselves of it. But we're going to talk about the pros and cons. We're going to hear straight from Jeff. But first, thanks sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins Scott Auctions, Upper Deck, Panini, and Topps. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
As I've said, you've been on before. We've done your origin story, and we've done the origin of your podcast, which is continuing to have great success. And you're doing more and more stuff. But what listeners who follow closely have noticed is that you've brought out some additional services at a monthly cost. And so, walk us through your philosophy there. And I think it's going really well, because for every person that thinks that's a bad idea, there apparently are a bunch that say, I think it's a good idea. So I hope you're doing well with it. As I mentioned to you, I think it's the sign of a healthy hobby/industry that there's information that's worth paying for. So
thank you very much. I have been overwhelmed by the response to it. It's been awesome. We've got a lot of folks who are, paying to be part of our monthly membership program, our paywall, as you described. And we have two different levels for it. We have a lower level, which is $9 a month, which gives people essentially premium content and premium community. So that might be your more traditional kind of content creators paywall. And then I have an upper level, which is $49 a month, which also gives people access to a very powerful software product, which I built, which is a data analysis tool built around the sports card hobby. So those are the two levels and how I structured it.
What about your boardroom thing? Is that invitation only?
Not off the ground yet. The boardroom was the concept that I had for a third level. And the idea of the boardroom was that it was going to be a small private meeting groups of higher end sports card investors who wanted to be able to make connections with one another, possibly do some deals together, whether it's buying and selling to each other or going in and buying together as a group, and who just simply wanted connections and insights and more personalized attention. And I postponed launching that simply because of COVID. The original concept was that we would launch it and then we would have a big event at the National this year for those members to get together in person. And obviously all that type of stuff changed. So it is still something I'm looking forward to doing in the future. But right now it's the two tiers that I described, or the two memberships we're currently doing.
Again, I like to tell stories on myself kind of that make me look I don't know if it makes me look stupid, but I basically thought about doing a boardroom service. The problem that I have with it is that you've got your basic $9.95 service and then your market movers. And then on top of that, so I'd love to do just a boardroom service where people did that, but you need the platform. And so I applaud what you're doing. The other reason for having the boardroom out there is it makes $49 a month look cheap.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean,
people don't always want the top thing. Some people do, but a lot of people, what's your best thing? And then they'll back off that. And so I hope you're doing well. And I hope that just like when my company was doing well, we took that money, those profits from the things we did that generated profits, and plowed it into continuing to improve and stay ahead of the rest of the people that are trying to add value. So if you're continuing to add value and increase that value, so what's on the horizon? I mean, if the boardroom is the market mover fully mature, or are you still adding to that?
We're adding to it left, right, and center. So a lot of the money we're making from the membership program is being reinvested into making the membership program better, and specifically the market mover tool to continue to expand that. We most recently added the ability to track your own collection. And the neat thing about it is that if you put your own collection into market movers, it will update every morning with the current price of your collection based upon any sales which took place the day prior on eBay, which involved cards that you happen to have in your collection that other people bought and sold. And so that's brought a flood of new customers to the product. People like that feature a lot. We're also trying to get into, more advanced analytics. One of the things we recently did was we launched ratios, where when you do a search for any card within market movers, it will compare the multiplier between a PSA 10, a BGS 9.5, a PSA 9, et cetera. And it actually, by looking at that data, you can sometimes start to see patterns where maybe a PSA 9 is underpriced compared to the PSA 10, or where the BGS 9.5s are undervalued compared to, a PSA 10 or something of that nature. And so it's just continuing to go deeper into features that make it that people love and that people find a lot of value in.
Hold that thought, because I want to do another episode about kind of the analytics that I've thought about, and that much of what you're doing, including those ratios. So hold that for another episode at a later date. But in the meantime, there was, and again, I don't regard people in the hobby as competitors. We're all in this together, and people can decide for themselves. But there are other people that are doing things slightly, somewhat similar to what you're doing, and they've made the choice. At least in one case, I'm not going to mention the name; it's not a sponsor. But they, instead of doing, you have a lot of free information, and then you have this first tier, which is your membership program. But they're not doing it that way. They're basically, instead of giving free and then pay for more, they're doing free trial. To me, that's very different. You could have done that. You could have, but I think what you're doing is better because you proved yourself with enough free information that if you want even more, or you want early delivery. So did you give thought to giving, like free trial kind of things?
I did, and I intentionally decided against it, at least for the time being, for the reason why you described. I mean, thankfully, since I have a YouTube show that's very visual, and I am referencing my Market Movers data tool throughout the YouTube show often, so people get a sense of it. They see a lot of the features of it on their screen already. So I feel like I'm giving people a little bit of a demo every episode as I pull information out of it to by the way, give away for free on the YouTube show. I don't, the YouTube show is 100% free, and I spend a lot of time on those episodes, put 3 episodes out a week. So I kind of feel like that's the free trial, and I haven't opened up the software to a free trial. It can be difficult sometimes when you do that. Sometimes
I'm not pushing back. I'm totally affirming that, and I'm to this other entity that you have to sign up for a free trial. When I don't know who they are, I'm reluctant to do that. You're showcasing what you've done for free in enough detail that people can say, and you're seeing it. When I was doing the magazine in the beginning, I can't tell you how many dealers said, I'll think about carrying it. Why don't you send me a free copy and I'll give it a look? And I felt like saying, dude, it's $2.50. It's available. Check it out. It's almost free, or you've seen the annual price guides. I certainly paid my dues. So if you want more of that, then give it a try. And if you don't, you don't have to. But what other podcasts out there or other verticals have you looked at for inspiration? I mean, a lot of entrepreneurial efforts that are successful, they're not complete copycats, but they take note of something that's happening in another industry. Were there any other industries that were doing things that you said, hey, I could do that within the sports cards?
So what's interesting is I have a good friend who runs a major company in the fantasy sports world. And I love sports as a medium. And I had been looking for some time at different business opportunities within fantasy sports and also sports gambling. The growth of sports gambling, obviously across the US, I knew there would be business opportunities there as well. And both fantasy sports and sports gambling were very sophisticated in terms of the digital tools that were available for people to take advantage of to get data and insights into what's going on within both of those marketplaces, as well as the content that was available. And a lot of the content, obviously, if you read any fantasy sports sites, they break down players and games and fantasy sports projections in a vast amount of detail, and they'll have artificial intelligence algorithms predicting all of it. And when I got back into sports cards a few years ago, I said, well, wait a minute, where is all of that here? Why is there not as much of that level of sophistication when it comes to digital platforms and that kind of deep analysis within the sports card hobby? And so that's actually more so where I took my inspiration from.
Another question. You've got some excellent writers. I think you give a little bounty, but why don't you put some of those excellent articles that are on your website, at least, and maybe other places as well, behind your paywall?
Yeah, so the website right now, all of the articles on the website, at least all the recent ones, have been written from members of the sports card community. We make that available as a platform for people who want to be able to share their own voice and who want to be able to be a writer, maybe just for the practice of doing it, or in some cases because they want to build their own social presence within the sports card world, and they see this as a platform for them to be able to start to gain personal branding and personal notoriety. So we've wanted to encourage that. I think that's one thing that I can do to help build the community, is to give other people a platform if they've got a unique voice and something to say. So that's one of the ways we do it. So I really haven't wanted to profit off of it, because I've wanted to make the articles available for everybody to read. And we take submissions from anyone who wants to submit an article. I give $250 a month to the article that gets the most views. It becomes the most popular article of the month. And we make no money off of any of that. I mean, we make a little bit of advertising revenue, from people visiting the website in general, but honestly, it's not much. And so it's really more of a hobby, service. And so, maybe there's a scenario in the future where a few of the more popular authors, maybe we take some of them and start paying them more regularly and make that more premium content. I don't know. But for the moment, I'm happy with that being just a free service.
I guess the last time we were on together, I was pushing back too much from some things you were doing, even though I was just pointing out tiny counterexamples that 99% of the time you were right and 1%, hey, what about this? But again, I totally agree with you on the writers being not behind the paywall, because what your brand is standing for and your paywall is about the time being of the essence. And those articles are not time being of the essence. It's like our price guides. When I was doing the magazines back in the day, we had the glossy, the nice paper that had the articles that were more timeless that we could do ahead of time. The price guides for many of those years were on newsprint, so we could do it at the absolute last minute because timely. So I see your paywall breaking along those lines, is that you're going to get good information for free, but the absolute up to the minute, up to the second, early warning stuff that you're becoming known for, people have to pay for that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
wait a week and find out, and the hobby is moving quite a bit. Last question: how optimistic are you about StarStock? I interviewed Scott, and my main pushback was, I think 5% is too small of a fee for them to really continue providing the service when they're only doing a certain number of cards. But
I haven't analyzed the dollars and cents behind the business model in enough detail there. I think from a general concept, I do think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to appeal to some of the newer folks within the sports card hobby who really are attracted to the idea of flipping. They're attracted to the idea of, if I can buy a card, today, I could sell out of it even as soon as next week, or if the player has a big game, or a month from now, or 3 months from now. And they're trying to make that process very, very easy and simple for those type of people. So I think the philosophy behind it is good, because I do think a lot of the newer people arriving in the hobby are of the mindset where that appeals to them.
Well, if it's high dollar enough cards, the 5% might work. But if they get bogged down in they're doing a lot of raw cards, which is a little tricky. So I think it's I'm hopeful, because I'd like to see more players in the industry that are bringing increased velocity and liquidity to our industry, because I think those are signs of health. So you're certainly doing that, and it doesn't seem to me that your paywall is slowing anybody down. In fact, it's giving you encouragement to get out there and earn the monthly fee by providing a service that people say, not only do I want to spend $9.95, but hey, I want to bump up to $49.95. If they don't, they don't have to. In the meantime,
right.
And I hope you don't think I'm not going to be a paying customer of yours. I don't think, Geoff.
That's okay. That's totally fine.
Either, but I don't really play in that sandbox.
Sure.
I have my own thing. I think that you're becoming known as specializing in a certain type of card, and there are an awful lot of people that are interested in those kind of cards. And so I wish you well. I think you're doing well. Keep improving, and I think you're hopefully a good listener too. So thanks for being on the show, and keep up the good work. And you're not hiding behind a paywall. You're using the paywall to fund additional growth that might benefit all of us. So yeah, thanks.
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, listeners. Be back again tomorrow.
The man in the house of cards. The man in